Welcome to VS channel. In this lecture, we will see the architecture of MSC 430X 5-axis. The MSC 430 family 4-axis is the earlier version of 5-axis. The MSC 430X 5-axis is the next generation family for 4-axis. So with this, we increase the performance and functionality of the MSC 430 family, and which is very easy to use. 4-axis version operates with a voltage range between 1.8 to 3.6 volts, but here the 5-axis operates with a very lesser voltage than this. That's why we have a chance to see this is ultra low power feature, and the current requirement for the according to the frequency, that is very less than 200 microamps per megahertz. So we can say this is ultra low power features. When the requirement of the power is reduces, we can say indirectly the battery lifetime is increases. Why? Because when requirement of the power is less, their battery discharging period is increases, and the operating frequency of the MSC 435 is up to 5 megahertz. So earlier we discussed about 4-axis, where if you want to operate the 4-axis at higher frequencies, where we need to provide more voltage than 3.3 volts. So which is increases the frequency, and we have a chance to more design options like USB, encryption, RF, and improved analog peripherals are available on chip. So we have a chance to design more functionalities, and here we have large memory devices. That means the flash memory size increases and RAM memory size also increases than 4-axis. Easy to use, and we have reference voltage also in a chip. And coming to the power side, the power on, reset handling, power up handling, and we have JTAG and boost up loader and watchdog timer. Detailedly we can see in architecture. So this is the architecture of MSC 430X 5-axis. First we can discuss about unified clock system. The unified clock system is very required for digital systems. Why? Because every digital system is operated with a clock. The clock is provided by the unified clock system. Here in unified clock system block, we are using the crystal oscillator. Why? Because the crystal oscillator is having more stability and accurate. For that we choose that. So previous versions are having two terminals, one is input terminal, one is output terminal for unified clock system like X in and X out. But here in 5-axis we are having two input terminal, two output terminal from the external side. So one is X in 1, X in 2. These two are the input terminals. X in 1 we are using for low frequencies and higher frequencies. X in 2 we are using for higher frequencies only. So if you want to operate with lower frequencies, we use X in 1. If you want to operate at higher frequencies only, then we can go for X in 2. If you want to change lower frequency, higher frequency during the operations, then we can prefer X in 1. The unified clock system provides the two different clock size output. One is a master clock, another is subsystem master clock, other is auxiliary clock. Master clock is the one which provides higher frequencies, up to 24 megahertz in 5-axis. This particular clock we are going to use for providing of the clock pulse to the CPU only. Then coming to subsystem master clock. Subsystem master clock is the one which can provide the clock pulse to all peripheral devices, and which is also provided a frequency with range of megahertz up to 24 megahertz. The third is the auxiliary clock. The auxiliary clock is a one which provides the frequency, that is less frequency it can provide. The less frequency means that is 32 kilohertz of frequency. This frequency is useful for the low operating components that are present in a processor. The next block coming to the memory devices, that is flash memory and random access memory. The flash memory is non-volatile memory. Non-volatile memory means the data cannot erase when power will turn off. That means it helps to keep a data for longer time, that means permanently. So that this type of memory we use for the purpose of storing a data and code. But here MSP 430 we use the flash memory for the purpose of storing programs. And coming to RAM, random access memory, which is allows for multiple read operations, multiple write operations. It comes under volatile memory. That means the data will erase when power will turn off. So here this is used for the purpose of data. And next is power management. The MSP 430 family operates in different power modes. Here in MSP 430 X5 axis is operates in 6 different low power operating modes, that is LPM 0, LPM 1, LPM 2, LPM 3, LPM 4, LPM 5. Like this we have 6 operating modes. The 6 different operating modes can take the voltage from 1.6 to 3.6 volts. And here we have burnout reset. The burnout reset circuit generates the burnout reset signal which utilize the system at power up and store the supply voltage supervision. And we have software to access power fail conditions and power on reset conditions and IO protection and power fail conditions. Software selectable supervisor or monitor state output is also provided by the power management system. And coming to burnout protection, the burnout protection is a one which protects the processor when power will drops than the dangerous level. When power will reduces than dangerous level, what happens? The normal electron devices go for damage. So here it protects from the damages. And so here we have SVM and SVS modes. These modes are supervisor for power supplying of the MSP 430. Right. So by using of this we can have a chance to reduce the power requirement for the operations. The next is watchdog timer. The watchdog timer is a one which we can use for the providing of time period and delays. So after completing of the time or interval which give the indications. The indication is given by the buzzer or LED. The primary function of the watchdog timer is to perform a control system restart after software problem. That means when system is stuck up, automatically after the completion of the interval, the computer will go for restart. So similarly here the processor will go for restart. And next is input output ports. In MSP 430 X5 axis we have 83 IO lines. The 83 IO lanes are divided into 11 ports from port 1, port 2, port 11. Each port is having 8 IO lines. That means the initial ports, that is 1 to 10 is having 8 IO lines, 11th one is having 3 IO lines only. And these 83 IO lines are divided into 6 groups, that is port A group, port B group, port C group, like this, port F group. Each group is having 16 IO lines. That means each group is monitors 2 ports, that is port A is monitors port 1 and 2, port B is monitors port 3 and 4, port C is monitors 5 and 6, port D is monitors port 7 and 8, port E monitors port 9 and 10, port E monitors port 11. and these ports are access the input and output data from the external devices. Port A group for the purpose of accessing of interrupts. So the interrupt capability is controlled or decided by the group A port. The remaining groups are for the purpose of exchanging of information between the processor and IO devices. The next block is DMA. DMA is abbreviated for data memory access. That means this is the device that can provide direct path between memory and IO devices without involving the CPU. Because of this, the CPU utilization is increases. This DMA is here having 3 channels. With these 3 channels, we have a chance to point or allows 8 IO devices to interact with the memory. Next, CPU, Central Processing Unit. The MSC 430 X5XS operations or depends on Central Processing Unit. This Central Processing Unit can monitors and control the operations of all the ports, all the components that are present in a processor. And this Central Processing Unit is having arithmetic and logical unit, which can perform arithmetic operations and logical operations. And coming to these features of this CPU, this is reduced instruction set architecture. That means the number of instructions are reduces. When number of instructions are reduces and which give a chance to provide orthogonal architecture. Orthogonal architecture means where every instruction is used in each addressing mode, and it is having the registers that are called as working registers. With this, which can have a chance to use for the purpose of general operations and specific operation. It is having 16 registers, 4 for the dedicated operation and 12 for the general operations. Dedicated operation means here R0 act as a program counter, R1 is act as a stack pointer, R2 is act as a status register, R3 acts as a constant register. When constant registers are required more like 2, then R2 and R3 is as a constant register, remaining are general registers. That means the 12 general registers can handle data and address. So here this CPU can interact with all other components that are present in a processor by using 2 buses, that is memory address bus, memory data bus. The actual size of memory address bus here it is 20 bits, but in MSC 430 4XS the address bus size is 16 bit, so that we have a chance to access only 64 kilobyte of memory. But here in 5XS it is having 20 address lines. Because of that, it can have a capability of accessing 1 megabyte, so that there is no need to divide a memory into pagings, and it is having 16 bit data, so that it can access 16 bit data at a time or a byte data at a time. Next is 32 bit multiplier. The 32 bit multiplier is a component that present in a integrated circuit of MSC 430 5XS. It is not a part of CPU. It is performs operation independently without involving of CPU. This 32 bit multiplier can perform 16 bit operations and 8 bit operations and 32 bit operations also. So if we go for in depth of this, and which can perform unsigned multiplication, signed multiplication, signed accumulate multiplication, unsigned accumulate multiplication, where the operand sizes are 8 bit, 16 bit, 24 bit, 32 bit, and which can perform fractional numbers also. Up to now we are seeing multipliers, that is the earlier versions of 5XS, where we have only unsigned multiplication, but by using this 32-bit multiplier which can perform unsigned multiplication and fraction multiplication also. The next is timers. So here in this particular architecture we have a timers A, timer 1 and timer B0. Timer A0 is having 5 capture compare registers, and timer 1 is having 3 capture compare registers. Timer B0 is having 7 capture compare registers. That means, which capture means in that particular mode these timers are measures the time, and it can measures like how much time it taken to complete the operation. In compare mode, which can provide the time duration to complete the operation, that is when the time is completes, that means the running time is always compares with the allotted time. When the time is completed, it's go for another operation, otherwise it go for restart. So here we use this particular thing for providing of timing and interval. So here when counting the time or when counting the interval time which can go upwards like 0 to n, which can go downwards like n to 0. So this timer size is system bit timer. So we use this system bit timer to for the purpose of providing of time delay. The next is real time clock. The real time clock is a one which can provide a time in terms of calendar timings. That means where we can measure the timing like seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months and years. This real time clock can provide a time for the operations and can use for the reminders also. Here the timer can measure the time in terms of BCD numbers or binary format, and programmable alarms also we can set by using of this real time clock. The next is CRC 16, cyclic redundancy checker. This cyclic redundancy check can detect the errors while we are transmitting a data between the processor to external devices. If the transmission, during the transmission, is there any error is occurred, that is detected by using of this CRC. The next is USCI, that is Universal Serial Communication Interfaces. So we use this particular block for providing a serial communication between the processor and external hardware. So under this mode we use serial peripheral interface and I2C and UART. So we use different types of this we can use. The USCI can operate in two different modes. The two different modes are like USCI A, USCI B module. Every module can support for a different mode of transferring of data. And the next is analog to digital converter with size of 12 bit. So here the microprocessor or microcontroller both can access only digital data, but coming to this MSP 430 X5XS microcontroller which can access analog information also. The analog information does not understand by the microcontroller or microprocessor, so that we need to convert the analog information into digital. For that we have this particular block. This block can take the analog information and converts into digital form, where the digital data size is 12 bits. The conversion and control buffer follows up to 16 independent ADC samples. The speed of conversion is greater than 200 kilo samples per second, and here which is having 14 external channels toward the internal channels, totally which is having 16 channels. And along reference, the reference voltage generation, this reference block generates the reference voltage. Using that we can convert the analog information to digital information where it can provide two selectable voltages, like one is 1.5 volts, other is 2.7 volts. So this can provide the reference voltage. And then coming to this, here we have a chance to see DVCC, DVSS, that is VCC we can use for the supply voltage, VSS we can use for representation of the ground terminal. DVCC means digital supply, DVSS means digital supply ground terminal, analog VCC, analog VSS. And then next we are having RST bar slash NMI. RST bar is a low active pin. By giving 0, the processor is going to restart. If you want to perform any operation, we need to keep this RST bar as a 1. By keeping this RST bar as a 1, the processor is going to perform a function continuously. Suppose if you keep RST bar as 0, the processor is going to restart. And then the last one, that is embedded emulation module. The embedded emulation module is a one which is used for accessing and control of debugging process. So this particular block is provide the interfacing of external devices with a CPU during the debugging process. For providing of interfacing with external devices and CPU, we use 4-wire JTAG and SPI-by-wire. These two interfaces we are using. So which is used for debugging process. And so if you are using the JTAG process, the JTAG process can have a chance to provide direct communication to the CPU, and because of that we have a chance to keep the programming in flash memory. We develop the program in normal personal computer, and from where we can test the program, that program is copied into flash memory that is present in MSI 430 X5XS. By using of JTAG, we are going to dump and then we can debug this using of this JTAG software. Thank you. Please share this particular link to your friends. If you like this video, please like and subscribe my channel, and I will keep more videos for your future purpose. Thank you. Thank you, students.